Are you ready to bust some myths? No, not that myth. You're on your own with your kids for that one. I'm talking about stock compensation myths. I'm going to be busting 4 myths today that I frequently hear about stock compensation. My chief myth busting tool is the 2020 NASPP Deloitte Consulting Domestic Stock Plan Administration Survey. And I'm Barbara Baksa. I'm the Executive Director for the NASPP, and welcome to my video series, Equity in Brief, where I offer quick takes on equity compensation topics that catch my eye. Now, everything I'm going to talk about in today's video was presented by Joseph Rapanotti of Deloitte Consulting and me in a webinar that we did for the NASPP. It highlights all sorts of results from the survey, and it's available now on the NASPP website. Myth number 1 is that stock plan administration doesn't have a home. I hear this all the time. Oh, companies don't know where to put it. It's in different places in different companies. It doesn't have a home. I just don't think that's true. And you know what? I've got the data to prove it. In the 2020 survey, just over 70% of respondents locate stock plan administration in HR or comp and benefits. Not only is that the case, but it's consistent with our 2017 survey, with the 2014 survey, with the 2011 survey, really going back all the way back to the early 90s when we first started conducting this survey. Respondents have consistently located stock plan administration in HR or comp and benefits. Myth number 2 is that employee education needs to include in-person presentations. Sure, I think maybe at one time that was the case, but I don't think it's true anymore, and neither do the respondents to our survey. When we look at the 2017 data, we do the survey every 3 years, so we compare 2017 to 2020, we can see that among those companies that do employee presentations, the use of in-person presentations dropped from 70% in 2017 to 55% in 2020. That's a 21% drop. At the same time, use of webinars increased significantly from 38% in 2017 up to 63% in 2020. That's a 65% increase. Now, I hear you. I know what you're saying. Barb, of course they're doing webinars. We're all stuck at home right now. We can't go anywhere. But the survey was conducted in March when shelter-in-place orders were just going into effect. So I don't think that the results that we're seeing are in any way connected with COVID-19. What I do think, though, is that now that we all have been stuck at home and we have really had to up our game when it comes to online presentations, that we are only going to see this trend continue in the future. Myth number 3 is that generous ESPPs just aren't around anymore. For this myth, I'm going to concentrate on qualified ESPPs, which makes sense because 80% of the respondents to our survey that have an ESPP have a qualified plan. And in most cases, those plans are actually pretty generous. Starting with the discount, 70% of respondents that offer a qualified ESPP have a 15% discount, the maximum allowed under the tax code. 62% offer a lookback. And just about half have a 6-month offering. Another 25% have a 3-month offering. All right, now, it is true that only 8% have the Cadillac of all ESPPs, a 24-month offering. But that doesn't mean that these shorter offerings aren't generous plans. The fact is, a 6 or 3-month offering that offers a 15% discount and a look back is still a very generous plan for your employees. In fact, I don't know any other investment that offers a 15% discount over a 3-month or a 6-month time period. You for sure are not making that on your savings account right now. And myth number 4 is that everyone has to be subject to the blackout period. Now, one thing that is true is that your high-ranking employees do need to be subject to blackout periods. Almost universally for respondents to our survey, Section 16 insiders, other senior management, outside directors, and employees with access to material non-public information are going to be subject to blackout periods. But when we get down to the lower ranks of employees, we see that people are less likely to be subject to blackout periods. Only 61% of respondents make middle management subject to blackout periods. Only 47% subject other exempt employees to blackout periods. And when we look at non-exempt employees, so these are people with hourly wage employees, only 35% of companies make them subject to blackout periods. Now, one trend worth noting is that the companies that are smaller are much more likely to make these lower ranking employees subject to blackout periods. So maybe for small companies, it's helpful for everyone to be subject to the blackout period. It makes sense in a small company. There's probably a lot of sharing of information. But certainly for larger companies where people are more siloed, it's not necessary for everyone to be subject to a blackout period, usually. And those are the 4 myths that I wanted to bust for you today. I hope that you've enjoyed my video. If you want to learn more about trends in stock plan administration, check out the webcast that Joseph Rapanotti of Deloitte Consulting and I recorded. It's Top Trends, Plan Administration, ESPP's ownership guidelines, and insider trading compliance. It covers not just what we talked about here today, but also topics like stock plan administration staffing, outsourcing, domestic mobility compliance, Rule 10b5-1 plans, ownership guidelines, and also ESPP participation rates and selling behavior of employees. It's definitely worth your time. Check it out today on the NASPP website. And thanks for listening.